Hi everyone, it's Mari here for the Paper and Ink Boutique. Today I have a 12 by 12 scrapbooking process that I want to share with you using the beautiful new Mintay Papers Photographer collection. And I'm also going to be using some dies from Spellbinders to create some die cuts for my project. And I just wanted to show you how you can multi-purpose those dies and use them for different sorts of things than maybe you were thinking you were going to use them for. So this is the beautiful paper pack that's part of the collection. You get 2 sheets of each of the papers in the pack. The back side of the front cover always has fussy cutting options for you to create even more embellishments, and I just think that's a genius way to use the packaging for Mintay. The papers for Mintay are always one of the things that draws me to them is their colors, but I also love the quality of the paper. And I love how they've got just such kind of like a beautiful collage on one side, and then the B side's always like a more of a subtle kind of a pattern that you could use as a background as well. And I love all of the different possibilities with these papers. I just think that they're so stunning. And I love this color combo. Every time they use this color combo in a collection, I buy the collection because I love it. And then I can combine them. So I can go back and use other collections from other releases with this same color combo and use them together. So many great options with Mintay. It's one of my favorite scrapbooking paper companies. And you can use these products for card making or making mini albums or all kinds of different paper crafting projects. So here you can just see so many different beautiful papers. This is a cut apart sheet that gives you a ton of 4x3 cards. And on the back side, again, there's going to be more artwork on the back there for you to use for your projects. So I'm just going to hopefully soon give this a little bit of a flip so that you can see the back side of that. I love the idea of the film strips too in this collection. I think is really fun. And that is the papers from the Photographer series. Now, I'm also going to show you the 2 9x12 sticker sheets that you can get, or actually these are 6x12. And so one of them has text and the other one has more of the icons from the collection. So these are really great. You can use them for lots of different purposes in your crafting. There's 2 different ephemera packs with this collection. This pack here is like envelopes and like all kinds of different little pieces. And then, of course, the laser cut icons in the other pack there. And that I love so much that you don't have that white edging on most of the pieces in that pack. This is the 8x8 pack, which is just the smaller scale of the 12x12 patterns. And then there's a unique 8x6 paper pad that has different things in it. So different patterns, more cut aparts. I love this one so much. I think it's my favorite. And I use some of these papers in here for some of my die cutting today. So some of the patterns are repeated from the large paper, but there's a lot of different ones in here too, or variations on those large papers. Now I'm starting off with a piece of 12x12 white cardstock. This happens to be Vicki Boutin Foundations paper. I like to start with a white sheet and then work in my pattern paper and embellishments from there, just because that is my style and that's how my brain works. Not to say that I haven't used the pattern paper for backgrounds, because I definitely have, but I lean more towards using the white and then working in the patterns. Part of that is because I like to use mixed media when I'm working, and I'm working with some Lindy's Stamp Gang Magicals today. Now, the colors, I'm not 100% sure what I used here for sure. I believe I used the Lizzy's Cuppa Tea Teal, a little bit of Sea Turtle Teal, and I think I also used the Apothecary Azure. And that one is from the Steampunk Soiree collection. So some of these you can buy open stock, but I think mostly Julia has the packs in the shop, which I love buying them in the packs, and that's how I buy mine, because you get a combo that kind of works together, which I love. So here you can see what I'm doing is I added some water to the magicals to activate them. And then I put a little bit of water on my paper, not too much because it is not treated with anything to make it waterproof. So I put just a little bit of water on the paper, and then I picked up my paintbrush and brought the pigment onto the paper in a shape. And the shape that I'm using here is a shape that is going to be the foundation for where I'm going to put the patterned paper. So I'm just being mindful of that as I'm adding my paint or my watercolor in. And I'm going to add more as I go because this evolves as my mixed media does. So, and lots of it's going to get covered up, and there'll be additional colors added because once I get working, I'm like, oh, this isn't really the color that I kind of was going for. And so it's a process that evolves, and I'll take you through and show you what I do. I also used some of the Lindy's spray, and the color that I used there, I'm just looking at the bottle here, is Starburst. No, that's the name of it. It's Steampunk Sepia. So that Steampunk Sepia matches really, really well with the kind of that antique linen color that's in the collection. And I just thought that worked perfectly. It just adds that little bit of grunge. And you could see there that I used the fan brush as well to add some of those smaller dots on there. And I squeezed my paintbrush to get some larger water drops on my project as well. And just kind of trying to add that texture with the color. Now I'm using my Tim Holtz Tonic Trimmer here, my slide trimmer, to trim off an inch of the white paper. So I'm trimming this down to 11 by 11 instead of 12 by 12 because I do want to use a frame for my background here. So I'm using my trimmer to get this cut down so that when I go to add the frame on, this white paper is going to be the correct size, and I can get that 1 inch frame around the perimeter. It works out to be obviously a 1/2 inch on each side, and I like how that looks when it's all finished. Now I'm adding in some of the teal, and this is going to be the sea turtle teal. So I believe I started with the Lizzy's Cuppa tea teal, and now I'm adding some of that sea turtle teal over top. And then eventually I'm going to put some of the Apothecary Azure over top of that. And so those 3 colors of my magicals are going to be creating the blue tones. And I don't think I got a perfect match to the photographer color, but it's close enough. And it doesn't clash or look weird or anything like that. But you can just see here, I'm just using my Ranger heat gun to heat that up. Now, if you don't have the Ranger heat gun yet, if you have never really seen it used or you've been on the fence, I love it for working on this type of a project because it's a more gentle heat and it doesn't warp my paper as much. But it does dry my project. I hold it up a ways from the paper. I try not to get it too close, and I try not to keep it on there for too long. Using a baby wipe to mop up some of your splatters will leave your splatters darker than if you use dry paper towel. So it will pick up less pigment. It'll leave your pigment a little darker. So that's why I like to use a combination of the paper towel and the wet baby wipe for picking up the excess moisture when I've done some splattering. Now I'm using my Tim Holtz track trimmer to gut my paper. So I don't want to waste the center. It's going to get covered up. I'm going to gut that and put it back in with my papers and use it on another project. And there you can just see that beautiful floral around the edge. Now I'm going to take that paper and I'm going to just tear my curve. So in this case, I think I did use the piece that I gutted for the inside. This isn't the 8x8 sheet. This is the piece that I did just gut out of the center. And now I've torn that piece to get me going here with my holder, my place holder for my photos. So I want somewhere right where I can, in my design, I'm thinking about what is going to be holding my photos, grounding my photos. And I have printed my 3 photos here at 4 by 3 inches on my Epson Papermate printer. And did I say, is it Papermate? It is not Papermate. My Epson paper, it's paper something. I don't know. I don't remember the name of it, but it's the first iteration of the little mini Epson photo printer. And mine is the one that was called the Show. And what it does, the reason why it's called the Show is because it's got a little screen on it that you can actually watch your photos flip by on it if you want. So it works really great. And I printed my photos and got those ready to go. And this is a Prima stencil. And I absolutely forgot to write down the name of that stencil, but I will definitely put it in the description box below so that you can see which one it is. It's a fairly new one, and I love it. It's got a lot of different types of patterns. And so I just used some of my Ranger Opaque texture paste and a palette knife and created that white on white look and texture. Love that. The best way to let this dry is to just let it air dry, but you can use a heat tool. It won't damage it in any way to speed up the process. This is where I grab that Apothecary Azure and activate it. And I love that color of blue. And you can see that I know here that I really need to extend my color down because otherwise you're not really going to see any of it. So bits and pieces of the color will show up here and there. I love how it looks when it's added over top of that texture from the stencil. I think it looks really cool. You could actually add it over the stenciling in more areas if you wanted. And I'm just going to create more layers of splatter here with my Apothecary Azure and also with my Steampunk Sepia, which I love. I love that sepia color. It just adds a really nice contrast. And it really makes you see how that the color combo that they've used in this collection is just, it's so good. It's just chef's kiss good. And, you know, maybe this isn't your thing for a color combo, but I love blue with just about anything. I'm a fan of blue. If you followed my work, you know I use blue a lot in my projects. I don't know if you noticed when my photos were on the layout as well, but the color in the photos that I'm using are absolutely perfect with this color scheme as well from the collection or for the collection. It's just love, love, love it so much. So I'm going to pick up some of the extra moisture here again and just make sure that I am drying this a little bit to speed the process up a bit. I will dry the back of the paper as well, a tiny little bit. And I do find that I'm always happy with how these layouts look in my albums or on my shelf if I do put them in a frame, or even if I just tack them onto the wall. I find the warping on the paper is very minimal and it doesn't affect the finished project at all. In fact, when I do that final border here, it's going to finish it off really nicely and flatten it out. Now, this is the Berry Fields border die set from Spellbinders. I love this die set. When Julia put it into the shop, I thought, you know, I like that. Do I have something like it? I looked in my stash. I didn't have anything like it. I loved the detail, but I also really, really loved the scale of the size of the scallop. It is perfect for scrapbooking. It just adds so much, right? Like it adds so much to this project. I just really, really was happy with it. And I used that steampunk kind of a brownie gold looking paper from the 8x6 paper pad to die cut all of the scallops that I used for my project here. So I just think this die is stunning. I think it's the perfect addition to not just cards and projects like that, but you can use this in your minis, in your mini albums, so many different things. And I love it. Now I used some of the pattern paper again from the 8x6 paper pad to create photo mats for my photos. I cut them all slightly larger than 4x3, and I'm using a paper distressing tool here. You could use scissors to do this. You could use your fingernails, whatever you would like to use. And I made them long enough here so that I could do some tearing on the bottom, just to add that little bit of texture and interest to my paper. So if you're going for more of a clean look, you might want clean lines. You may want to cut this perfectly at 4.5 by 3.5 or something like that, depending on, you could even do a little bit smaller, 4.25 by 3.25, so that you have just a really nice little margin around the edge of your photos, and do that clean. You could add, instead of doing the paper tearing, those pieces that I have anchoring my photos could definitely be done as rectangular shapes that are straight. This is the die set called Vivid Blooms. This is a very new release from Spellbinders, and I love this die set so much. Again, when it was released, I thought, do I need another floral set from Spellbinders? The answer was unequivocally yes. This set has so many different fantastic pieces in it, from the foliage to these large blooms. I absolutely love it. And I love how Spellbinders thinks through the layering process so well with these die sets. So this was a must for me for the scale of scrapbooking, but also for card making. I die cut them from white, and I'm using some speckled egg and some antique linen oxide inks to add some details to the middle, to some of the areas on the foliage. And I'm using that speckled egg first, and then I'm going in with the antique linen and adding a little bit of detail as well. I love the ink blending on the white cardstock for die cutting. I love that, because it just gives you so many options for what you want to do with that white. And I'm adding some splatters as well. And now I'll just go ahead and use my Misti glue press here to add the centers. The centers I die cut with that beautiful 8x6 floral paper. It's just subtle enough that it gives some color to the center. It gives a nice subtle accent. And then I'm going to layer some white over top of that, which I think, again, is just so soft and pretty. And that's really what I was going for here, which is pretty much typically my style. And there you can see what those look like when they're all finished up. And I love them so, so much. I think they're so pretty. Now with the photos, I'm just adding a little bit of foam tape to the back. And that's just going to give those a little bit of dimension before I add them onto my layout. And so I'll just go ahead and get those done. And I just added a strip kind of in the center of the photo. I wasn't too worried about making sure the whole back of this has foam on it. And for this last one, I also took one of the tags. I think the tag is from the 8x6 paper pad. And I'm going to add that onto the one photo here of Luca. That photo is going to be in the middle. And I just thought it would be neat to do something a little bit different and add some detail to that photo. So I'm going to just take a 1/2 inch circle punch and take the, I wouldn't have had to have done that because I don't end up tying my ribbon through the hole. But I did release that whole area there. I just tied a bow with some ribbon that I had in my stash. This is just, it's kind of like a burlap with a white dot. And who knows, that's been in my stash for a while, so I don't know where this came from. But you can use anything, right? And now I'm just going to use a little bit of foam adhesive to tack that little bow down. I just thought that added just some fun texture. And just kind of for the middle photo, I just thought it added something a little bit unique and different to the project. So I'll get those photos all tacked down. And now I'm going to start placing things and getting things attached and glued down here. So we're getting close to being done. And I'm going to start thinking about where I want to add these scallop pieces here. I didn't want this one going all the way across, because I felt like that closed off excuse me, the top portion of the layout with the bottom. So I wanted to leave some white space on the edge just to keep that white space flowing, if that makes sense. And so I like how that looks. I've got that just kind of adhered there, just tacked down at this point. And I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess on that ribbon there. Just give that a little bit of an angled cut, but I love that ribbon. I think it looks really, really super cute. And then I wanted these photos to be placed imperfectly, so kind of at an angle, offset with each other, leaving space between the first and middle photo for some details. And then other than that, I was thinking my embellishments could go on the top left and bottom right of those first and third photos, to go kind of like a diagonal with my embellishing. Here I'm thinking about adding now a little piece of that scallop over to the side and just keeping an open edge on the left. I can't remember at this point what I did exactly, so we'll just have to watch and see what I decided to do there. Once I was getting more things on there, then I could kind of see how it's going to look now that I can see how far up, how high the photos go, and what the other details are going to look like. I love that film strip die cut. I could have about 100 of those. I actually need a die like that. And you know what? Maybe I even have one. I need to look in my stash and see if I have a film strip die. I probably do, actually. But that is something that you could definitely, easily incorporate. If you had a die like that, you could use those film strips on lots of different projects. There is a frame die there, or a die cut. Actually, Spellbinders just came out with a photo frame die that would work perfectly as well for cutting out more of those. So here you can just see I'm building up those clusters in the top left of that first photo and the bottom right of the third photo, and layering in some of the die cuts and some of from Mintay and some of the die cuts from the Spellbinders dies. And you can just see everything coming together. I just took my phone here and took a picture of the placement of everything, so that right now I'm just going to put things down where I think I want them. And then when I'm ready to start actually adding glue, I'll use that photo just to remind me of where I had things placed. And now I'm just going to go ahead and put the scallop border at the bottom. And I'm just, at this point, I'm just adding things in to see where I want them. Do I have enough color? Do I have enough, balance? Is everything balanced out? Is there still a spot to add some journaling strips down at the bottom, or wherever I decide I want to add them? And so I'm pretty happy with how things are looking. I'm going to take my Misti glue press and add some glue to the back of my scallop border here. Now, the really great thing about the Misti glue press is it's got a really nice fine tip, which is wonderful for adding glue to a small, delicate, or a delicate die cut like this. It's just the perfect adhesive tool, I think. And just going ahead and adding more onto the second piece. And at this point, you can see that I've placed this on the floral background, and you can just see how that's going to frame this project in so beautifully. So I have used the pattern paper, but I've used it very strategically so that it really enhances the project. And without the pattern paper, this layout would not be what it is. The pattern paper is the foundation for choosing the color, for choosing the types of embellishments, the florals that I've used here for the die cuts. I just really love the pattern paper from Mintay. It's just stunning and is so inspiring to me, for sure. Now I've added some repositionable adhesive to the pattern paper in the background. And then I took this to my sewing machine and I sewed all the way around the edge of the white Vicki Boutin paper so that this is now bonded together, the white background paper to the floral frame with sewing. And you can see that really flattened the layout out. So I love that. I love adding stitching to my projects. I just love the texture that it adds. I love the little bit of thread that you get on your project. I just think it looks really pretty. And I have adhered everything down at this point off camera. And I'm just going to take another little sticker from the text sticker sheet. It says stories on it. I've put some foam adhesive on the back of that, and that's going to go down at the bottom there. I'm just getting all of the little bits of paper and stuff off the layout there when I shake it. And now I'm just taking some Dina Wakley white gloss spray, and I'm using a small brush and I'm splattering that really generously. I'm just using my hand to shield my cameras and my equipment and apparently my glasses, which I've left on my desk. I love the white splatter. I just think it's just the perfect finishing touch for a project like this. And that is going to finish off my layout, friends. So I'm going to hold this up to the camera so you can see the details. And I've also added some still shots to the end here so that you can see up close more of the details on a photograph. And I hope that helps you out. I did link to the products in the Paper and Ink Boutique shop that I've used on this project. I'm hoping things are still in stock for you when you go to shop. If you're not using the photographer collection from Mintay, but you're using something from your stash, or you're shopping another collection that's maybe more your style or something more that you're looking for more, you can definitely just use the techniques and the design that I've used today to help you create a project. And I hope you were inspired. I hope you got some tips and tricks that you can use for projects that you would like to make in your space. Friends, I really enjoyed this. I always love making these videos for this channel because I know that you all appreciate it. You love the free content. You love being able to find projects that hopefully contain some ideas for you that will help you to come up with some things that you can create in your space. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again later this month with more projects. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.